He can come sit up here.
I'll do this.
Randall, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
Very good. All right, for the record, this is cause number CCL 20D151 in the matter of Matthew Murphy and Casey Murphy. It's my understanding the parties have a partial agreement for a final hearing in this matter. And then there is a contested issue.
That's correct, Your Honor. I have a motion for continuance. I understand that there's been two prior times where it was been continued for our behalf. So I understand the situation that the court is in, but I was retained the day before yesterday, and there's some issues with medical records and et cetera. I just do not have, so I'm urging a motion for continuance for that, but I understand the situation you're in.
Mr. Iverson?
Well, Your Honor, we're obviously opposed. The second time Ms. Murphy received a continuance, the court told her she would no longer receive another one. She started out with Mr. Verscholl, let him go. Then she told us she was getting legal aid. Apparently that didn't happen. Now she's retained Mr. Lee, and we believe that even with the medical records on the issue that's being addressed, it wouldn't matter. So we're asking that the court go forward as Ms. Murphy was told at the last hearing that she would not receive another continuance. This case has been filed since May of last year, and we're just ready to be divorced.
Okay. I'm going to deny the motion for continuance. Therefore, let's see, Mr. Iverson, you're the moving party, you're the petitioner.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your first witness.
I'll call Matthew Murphy.
Will you raise your hand and be sworn, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm your testimony to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you'll need to speak a little louder, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Would you state your name for the court?
Matthew Mark Murphy.
And prior to the filing of this divorce, were you a resident of Texas and of Cass County for the preceding 6-month period?
Yes, sir.
And are you presently married to Casey Murphy?
Yes, sir.
And were you married to Miss Murphy on or about September 22nd of 2018?
Yes, sir.
And did y'all cease to live together as spouses on or about May 2nd of 2020?
Yes, sir.
Has your marriage to Miss Murphy become insupportable due to a conflict or discord of personalities that has destroyed the legitimate ends of that marriage relationship?
Yes, sir.
Were there any children born or adopted to this marriage?
No, sir.
Are there any children expected?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you and Miss Murphy, through counsel, reached an agreement in regards to your community property?
Yes.
Okay. And under that agreement, you have some separate property items that are being awarded to you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have a 2011 Puma camper trailer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have a 2003 Harley Davidson Dynaglide motorcycle.
Yes, sir.
And you have 14.9 acres of land. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have also agreed that you will receive the 6.5 Creedmoor rifle,
Yes, sir.
the Kimber 1911 45,
Yes, sir.
and the Colt Commander 38.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're also going to receive the marital home, and in exchange, you are going to pay her $8,500 as her reimbursement of a down payment that she paid of $3,500, and the money she requested is what she believes the equity would be in that trailer home that you and she owned.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to pay that immediately upon the time that she moves out of that location. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She is going to receive the Ruger 22 long rifle,
Yes, sir.
a Ruger 10-22 22 long rifle,
Yes, sir.
a 410 shotgun,
Yes, sir.
and a 9mm pistol that she has. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She's also going to receive the four-wheeler that y'all had,
Yes, sir.
and her separate property, 2007 Ford Explorer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We've also agreed that she will receive 1/2 of your retirement from the date of marriage to the date of separation, which we're hoping is granted today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we know that you have a significant amount of money in there, so it will be enough to cover whatever her portion is that she's entitled to. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you believe that that is y'all's full agreement, other than you'll receive all your personal items and she'll receive all of her personal items?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to approve that agreement that you and she have reached?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as you're concerned, those are all the issues for the divorce. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you do understand that she's making a claim today. It's our understanding she's going to make a claim for spousal maintenance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What was Miss Murphy's work when y'all got together? What was she doing for work?
Cleaning houses.
So she was cleaning houses.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who she was working for?
Howard and Kathy Barnwell and Andy Russian.
Okay. Did she ever do any other job while y'all were together?
She worked at the ranch
And
steakhouse in Atlanta.
do you know what she did there?
Waitress.
Okay. And how long did she work there?
Approximately 2 months.
Okay. So in the little over or right around 2 years y'all were together, she cleaned houses and waitress for about 2 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know of any reason right now that she couldn't continue to do those jobs?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know if she's been working since y'all separated?
I have no idea.
Okay. Does she receive a disability check from the government that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Has she ever been diagnosed by a doctor with an actual disability?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And y'all obviously weren't married for 10 years, correct?
That's correct.
And you believe that she can provide for her reasonable and necessary needs based off the retirement, the money you're paying her, and the other items she's received here today.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-exam.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions to make sure we understand the agreement, and maybe we misspoke. We understood that you think she has a couple of Colt guns, and we've agreed that if she didn't know she had them, but if she has them, she'll turn them over to you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We also thought that she was going to keep. We agreed that she would keep the Kimber, and is that a problem?
Well, when we spoke earlier, the agreement was she got the 2 Rugers and we got the Kimber and the Colt. And then we had the issue of the 6.5. And when we called back, y'all said that was no longer an issue, that was.
Yeah, the 6.5, we agreed. We thought the agreement was, there's also a 410 rifle that she keeps, 222. She apparently does not know anything about a 9mm.
Or the Kimber, I don't,
But you have the Kimber?
I do not have the Kimber.
Okay.
That was his gun that he kept on his side.
Okay, then that's not an issue.
It's
Okay,
not
I'm
his
sorry,
gun.
I misspoke. The Kimber is not an issue. That's apparently your gun. If she has it, she'll turn it over to you. Okay. Of course, she's giving you the house. It's free and clear to you. You'll give her $8,500 upon her moving out, and she's supposed to move out at least before 90 days. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when she'll give you a date when she'll be out, you will give her the check.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Is there anything that I missed so far?
No, sir.
All right. Y'all separated back in May last year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I understand you don't want to get into the specifics, and your lawyer can tell you whether to testify or not, because there's criminal charges pending. But there was an incident that took place in early May last year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And she made accusations against you.
That's correct.
And there's texts back and forth for you and your mother asking her not to press charges because you'd lose your gun rights. You remember doing that?
No, sir.
Okay. And you currently have felony charges pending on you, is that correct?
Pending.
Right. And in regards to assault on her, felony assault
Yes.
and interference with telephonic emergency communication, that sort of thing.
No.
All right. Are you denying that these incidences happen, or what happened on that day?
If you would state correctly what I was charged with, I'd answer it.
Well, you tell me what happened on that day when the charge.
Sir, I was charged and arrested for felony assault and impeding breath.
Okay, impeding breath, not emergency calls. Okay.
And I have fully cooperated with everything that the DA has asked, everything the Cass County Sheriff.
What is your version on what happened that day?
My version on what happened is that we had a disagreement. I defended myself, sir, and she had me arrested. Those charges are pending and I have not been convicted.
How did you defend yourself?
Sir?
How did you defend yourself? What actions did you take from your version?
From my version, whenever I was defending myself, so you're gonna have to be more specific. I don't.
Did you push her downstairs?
I pushed the woman in defense, yes.
Twice?
No,
Did you choke her?
no, sir, I did not.
Pass the witness.
Redirect.
Mr. Murphy, you have some pending criminal charges in Cass County, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you and Miss Murphy were asked to cooperate and turn over cell phones, text messages, things of that nature, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you do so?
Yes, sir.
Did you meet with the DA and give your version of the story?
Yes, sir.
And that case is still being investigated, and as of right now, we don't have a final trial date or anything of that nature, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so there's no telling when that case will be set for hearings or a trial date, and Mr. Lee and his client acknowledge that, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so you've not been convicted of any crime associated with any assault or anything on Miss Murphy?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know from the investigation and from what you've learned if Miss Murphy cooperated and did what she was asked?
To my knowledge, she hasn't.
And so she refused to turn over her cell phone and those items to the DA's office, is our understanding.
Yes, sir.
And so those charges are still pending. There's no convictions and no set trial dates at this point.
That's correct.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
I have no
Cross.
cross. I have no
Okay.
cross, Your Honor.
Okay. Call your next witness, Mr. Allison.
I'll call Miss Murphy, Your Honor.
All right, will you raise your hand and be sworn, please? And do you also swear or affirm the testimony that you're to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, sir.
You may lower your hand and you may proceed, Mr. Allison.
Will you state your name for the court?
Casey Rayanne Easley Murphy.
And Miss Murphy, you've been able to hear my questions of Mr. Murphy in regards to y'all's agreement and the dates of your marriage and separation.
Yes, sir, I have.
And you've heard all of his answers to those questions.
Yes, sir, I have.
And if I asked you if that was your agreement, is that the agreement that you and he have reached this morning?
The agreement, yes, but he hasn't been truthful.
But I'm just asking you about the agreement. Have you?
Yes,
Okay. And so you are asking the court to approve that agreement that we have stated in the record this morning.
yes,
Okay. And you are asking the court for a divorce today, is that correct?
yes,
Now, in your counter petition that Mr. Lee filed, it said you were requesting a name change, is that correct?
oh, yes.
And so are you wanting to go back to Easley?
Yes, sir, I'm proud of my last name.
Okay, and that is spelled E-A-S-L-E-Y?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you believe that that property division is fair and equitable to both you and Mr. Murphy?
It's not fair, but it's gonna be the best choice, so yes.
Okay. When it comes to your claim for spousal support, Ms. Murphy, to your knowledge, has Mr. Murphy been convicted of anything associated with these charges you pressed?
The DA called me back and told me that they had evidence proving that he did set this up to kill me that night. I know that it is pending because of the coronavirus, that there has been no criminal court had been taken in yet. So that's why we are where we are right now.
So again, as I asked you, he's not been convicted or received any kind of probation based on the charges you pressed to this.
He hasn't been convicted, but he's been to jail for it.
Correct. So he's not been convicted or served any kind of probation.
Not yet, no.
Okay. And you don't disagree that you and he weren't married for 10 years.
No,
Okay. You and he had no children together.
no, but he did put my kids on insurance and said that he was going to adopt them.
Okay. But that never took place. You never adopted and you have no
No,
children.
thank God.
Okay. So have you received disability from the state or anybody at this point?
No, I'm still going to doctors. I'm still seeing the state doctors. They want me to see the unemployment, disability doctors.
So you've not even applied for disability yet.
Yes, I have applied for disability. There's only so many doctors you have to see.
Okay. But you've not received anything or gotten any form of disability from anybody to this point.
No,
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee?
Ms. Easley, do you have any income at the moment?
I have my unemployment,
And which is how much?
$1,014
Okay.
every 2 weeks.
And you have 2 children,
3 children.
3 children. Currently, your husband has been paying the house note on the trailer.
Yes, sir.
So you did not have to pay that. That is
Yes,
how
sir.
much?
It's around $775.
But you've been paying the electricity?
No, he's been paying the electricity.
Okay, you've
as
been
well.
paying the electricity. Your other expense, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. Basically, part of the reason for the continuance was to get the medical records together and be able to prove the disability to the court.
Yes, sir.
But it would also, there was no way the trial was going to take place here in Cass County on a criminal charge within a year's time.
Right.
And especially with COVID.
Right.
And that slowed everything down. So yes, he has not been convicted, but you anticipate that he'll have to answer to it at a future date.
Yes, sir. I'm going to participate with the state.
Tell the court what happened on that night, briefly, specifically to the injuries.
I was sitting in my car. He wanted me to come in. It went on for 45 minutes. Him texting me back and forth, wanting me to come in the house. I wouldn't go in because I just felt something was wrong. He came outside and tried to break my door. I tried to call my dad. He took my phone, my keys, my gun, went in the house. I was right behind him going up the steps. He turned around and pushed me down the steps from the very top step. I went down. Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? I was able to get back up. Thank God, because I have back injuries from a car accident many years ago. But I got up. I waited till I see a way open. I tried to go back in and he put his arm in front of me and knocked me down the steps again. Then after that, I got back up again. He went in the house, locked the door. I'm pacing back and forth. I see my daughter's bike. I get on my daughter's bike and I try to ride it up to my mom and dad's. He puts his arm around my neck and pulls me off my daughter's bike. I screamed, "Daddy." He only lives a quarter of a mile up the road. And I screamed my daddy's name. And when I did, he put his hand over my mouth and my nose and went to suffocate me. As he was choking me, he took me to the pallet in front of my steps and he went to killing me. I did go out for a moment of time and I could hear him pacing and going, "Oh my God, what did I do? What did I do?" And then afterwards it was, "Please don't call the cops. Please don't call the cops. I'll pay the bills. I'll move to the other end of the house. I'll get the trailer. I'll move to the other end of the house. I'll keep money for y'all. Please don't call the cops." I prayed for him before he left that night. I prayed for our family. I prayed for him. And his mom and him steadily text me, Don't tell your doctor. Don't tell your doctor. My doctor has a report of this as well, Sonny Hoot. And I did not have her report because I called the cops myself.
And as a result of that, did you have to go to the doctor?
Yes,
Was it that night or was it
it was a couple of weeks later. I went to the doctor and I called and she was able to talk to me over the phone because I had so many injuries that I didn't want to be seen. I had bruises up and down my body. I couldn't barely walk. I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to be,
okay?
I just the PTSD of it all. I just wanted to be in a hole.
Everybody on his side of the family was basically begging you not to press charges,
Yes.
not to go. And did you stay in the house?
Yes,
Okay. Then at some point you had to go to the doctor. Is that correct?
yes.
You talked to her, but you had to go.
I had to go.
Were you hospitalized?
Yes, in Texarkana.
Did you have within the first month after this incident, were you hospitalized 3 times?
Within the second month.
Within the 6 weeks
yeah,
or so?
Yes,
Yeah.
within 6 weeks.
And the first time was what?
First time was my ankles flipping out from underneath me and me blacking out. And then I was septic and
Okay, let's say the first time, what was the diagnosis? What did they look at?
the neuropathy.
All right.
Connor, I'm gonna object as the hearsay.
Just
Was she, okay, what was your diagnosis at that time?
Neuropathy.
Okay. Did they send you to a neurologist?
Yes.
Did he confirm?
Yes.
Connor, objection, hearsay.
sustain.
And were you then treated for neuropathy?
Yes.
Were you referred to a specialist?
Yes.
Could you attend that specialist?
No,
Why?
because of the storms.
And COVID?
COVID.
It took a while to
Yes,
get in.
and so
Okay.
we're rescheduled.
And that's still, you're
I
still
still
gonna
have
have
an
to go
appointment. Yes.
to the doctor. And what do you mean, what are the symptoms you have of the neuropathy?
I can't put too much pressure on my right leg. I have pains down my right leg all throughout the night. I can't walk with a lot. I get off balance really easy. I use a cane a lot, as Gary mentioned earlier about me being at a Christmas thing. I had a cane the whole entire
Okay,
time.
we'll get to that. Let's just, your symptoms are basically weakness and pain.
Weakness
down
and
your leg.
pain. I will fall and black out.
And is that progressively getting worse?
It's getting worse.
Was it that bad at the beginning?
It was not bad at the beginning.
And so over the last 9 months or 10 months,
I have blackouts and seizures. And
you can still function. You go to track meets,
I go to watch my kids. Yes,
You
but I
went-
can't drive.
you've gone fishing.
Yes,
You can't sit still for long periods of time, but
No.
you can do things.
yes.
Family reunion. I
Yes.
think you went to a family reunion. Do you? But it's progressively getting worse.
Yes.
The second hospitalization, what was that for?
Kidney damage. I had septic, blood in my urine. I became septic. Kidney damage
That was about 3 weeks after or so, or three
after we found out that
after
I had
this
neuropathy.
incident. And that was the diagnosis was kidney damage, blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma.
And what treatments are you taking for that?
Have to be on an antibiotic all the time. I am having to take cranberry pills. I drink lots of water. And I'm still having to see a urologist.
And is that apparently permanent?
I don't know.
Yeah, but there's
But-
permanent
But there's
damage.
permanent damage to
to
my
your
kidneys.
And as far as the neuropathy, is that permanent?
It could be very permanent.
Okay, the
There's
third,
no, right now, there's no cure for neuropathy. So yes, it's a permanent.
and then the third hospitalization, which was 5 or 6 weeks after,
Yes,
what was that for?
for blackouts and seizures.
And how the seizures, did you ever have seizures before?
No,
Did you have neuropathy before?
no, sir.
Did you have kidney damage before?
No, sir.
Okay, the seizures that you're having, how often do you have them?
I don't, I don't know.
It's irregular?
Irregular. We don't know. I can't drive. My doctor won't release me to drive due to it.
How many seizures have you had in the past since you started having them?
8 to 12.
You had one this week.
I had one last week.
Last
week.
Last week. Were you hospitalized
Yes.
for that?
For 6 hours.
And
They are. They kept me for 6 hours.
Again, you don't know how long it's going to be, or you don't know.
I don't know when it's going to happen.
And they won't let you drive.
I can't drive.
Could you stand on your feet long enough to be a waitress?
No,
Could you stand on your feet and walk enough to clean house?
no, because you have
For
to
people.
bend, and I have no balance to bend even to tie my child's shoe. I can't tie my child's or my own without falling backwards.
You're able to function. You can go to school functions. But you
Right,
don't
as long
set
as
to-
my parents
Right.
drive me, and most of the time I have to put my foot in a different chair.
Right. And you have to, and you can't stay in one position too long.
Right.
But can you think, or do you have any training or any ability right now that you could get a job with these conditions?
No,
I mean, there might be something you could do, but you don't have any training
I
for
don't
that
have any
right,
training for that. No, sir.
right now. And they're not, so far, you don't have much hope that it's ever going to get any better.
No,
Yeah, perhaps the kidney will fully function, but you
I
don't know.
hope so, but right now I don't believe it is.
And you're going to a counselor.
Yes, sir.
Who are you going to?
Her name is Jennifer. She's from Genesis Prime Care.
And are you being treated for post-traumatic stress syndrome?
Yes, sir.
What are your issues involving that?
I had it before, but it's gotten worse.
You had it before?
I had it before our incident,
Okay, so
but he mentally and physically abused me throughout our whole marriage and my children.
what are your symptoms?
My symptoms are I have flashbacks. I can't be in crowds. Loud noises bother me. I don't like screaming, yelling. I react to gunshots. I react to anyone putting their hands close to my neck. Just there's so many. Nightmares
And is it's making it hard for you to function?
on a daily basis.
Periodically,
Yes. I've been going to school events. I
Of
have
all-
to go away from my kid, from the crowd. I can't be right by the crowd. I have to be somewhere where I can just see my kid running.
Of all the symptoms we talk about, the PTSD was pre-existing, but it's been aggravated by
Yes.
all of this. And you and I have gone over the problems we had when you retained me. You paid me, what, 2 days ago?
Yes, sir.
That, and you paid that out of your stimulus check.
Yes, sir.
I think.
My kids.
And that we would have trouble getting all that together. We needed a continuance to prove up all your medicals and to establish
Yes, sir.
whether he's going to be convicted. But obviously,
I'm at
it
the
may be
point.
another year or two before he actually goes to trial. So he's
Yes, sir.
he's not been convicted, but it is pending.
Yes, sir.
Did he get a protective order? Did you get a protective order
Yes,
against
sir.
him? Like a
The
90-day?
state gave me a protective order and a no contact order from him. 90 days.
And he has been at least good enough to pay for your electricity and
And my
the
phone,
trailer
even my phone bill.
and your phone bill. But go over your expenses, your anticipated expenses per month after the divorce.
Okay.
Well, your house payment or apartment rent would be around 700. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Electric bill would be 70, 80 bucks.
I'm say 125 to 175 because it's
Okay.
food gas. Phone is $60 to $80 if he releases me and lets me have my phone number like he said he would. The water $60 to $80. House note, we just talked about that. Car insurance is $60. Because I'm gonna have to have car insurance for my daughter's is getting her license. And my prescription copay is $60 a month, which I'm still on his insurance
And
for
you're-
prescription.
And you will have an insurance expense because you'll be going off of his insurance.
Yes, sir.
And
And I don't know what all of his copays are.
you are on food stamps, so your food
sir.
is pretty much handled. So you're going to have $1,200 to $1,500 a month expenses,
Yes, sir.
and you're getting right now $1,000 a month on unemployment.
Right. I get 2,000 a
Okay.
month. $1,000 every 2 weeks.
Okay, and that's going to expire
So,
fairly shortly,
Right.
within a couple of 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You don't know when you are applying for Social Security disability
Yes,
and
sir.
going through the steps, but you don't have a clue to when that's gonna happen.
no, sir.
Are you testifying that you are disabled
Yes, sir.
and you believe it's permanent disability?
Yes, sir.
Pass the witness.
Ross,
Ms. Murphy, you stated some bills like you already knew where you were going. Do you know where you're going to be?
No, I don't.
Well, you said your electric was going to be with Bowie Cast. So how do you know where your electric's going to be if you don't know where you're going?
Because the area where I'm planning on moving to is going to be Bowie Cass.
Okay, are you planning on living in an apartment complex, a house? What are you planning on moving to?
That doesn't matter. I don't
Just-
know.
But you know of a general area?
Just the general area around my parents.
Okay. Miss Murphy, you said you had a severe car wreck, is that correct?
Yeah, in 2007. No, 2006. Which you know because you worked for Frost and y'all handled my car accident too.
No, ma'am,
And
I
this-
didn't become a lawyer until 2008.
Well, you were here during that.
Okay. What were your injuries in that car wreck?
I had a splenectomy, emergency splenectomy, and I had 7 discs that with no cushion. But the cushion somehow, with God, had grown back, and I was able to do work, like have my own house cleaning business. And I had more than 2 clients. I had 4
Okay.
weekly.
But I mean, you had some pretty serious injuries as a result of that car wreck.
Yes, I did, but I was able to build my muscles back up and recover like the doctor said I never would.
Okay. Miss Murphy, whenever you filed the criminal charges, were you asked to turn over certain evidence to the DA?
Not when I filed the criminal charges, no. Not until you told Matt not to go with them because Matt told the officers that I had threatened him in text message that I was going to send him to jail if he went and filed for a divorce. And that's when they wanted my phone. I told him to get his phone because he's the criminal, not me. And then they called me back and said, Miss Murphy, he brought his phone in here. And you're right. And that's when I got the restraining order and the no contact order. The state put it against him. I didn't have to hire a lawyer. The state did it. So he proved that he did all of it because they dumped his phone.
Well, I mean, you understand that he already had the protective order and had already been arrested before we did all that, correct? Those weren't a result of us turning over evidence that was already in place.
No, he had not been arrested yet.
Okay. Did you ever turn over your phone or any evidence to the DA to support?
Yes, I turned over a lot of evidence. I didn't turn over my phone, but she has every message in between me and Mr. Murphy and me and Mr. Murphy's wife and mom and me and anyone else that she needed to talk to. Anything, everything, every picture, everything.
Okay. Have you ever had a doctor state that any of your current things that you're being treated for could not be associated with the wreck you had?
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you talked about having PTSD, you talked about not being able to be in crowds or loud noises. But isn't it true that you went to Hometown Christmas in downtown Atlanta and were taking pictures inside the petting zoo with all the crowds and all the people?
I wasn't inside the petting zoo. I went over to the petting zoo, took a picture of a llama for my daughter who loves llamas, and then I walked away. And my dad sat there with my daughter
You
with
attended,
my cane in hand.
you attended all of downtown Christmas in Atlanta with all the
I
crowds.
didn't intend all of it. If you'll go back, you'll see pictures of me and my dad sitting in the truck.
How many softball tournaments have you been to?
Not very many.
How many have you been to since y'all separated with your daughter?
Well, Brantley quit playing,
Okay. So how-
and Katie played over the summer, and
you've
it wasn't a
attended those,
tournament,
correct?
so it's actually
I
league.
need y'all to not talk over each other, please.
Are you gonna let me answer now, Gary?
Go for it.
All right now. Katie played league last summer, and I was at every game with my parents driving me. And I went to one tournament this last weekend, and I ended up in someone's truck with my legs up the whole entire time of the tournament.
How many relationships have you been in since you and Mr. Murphy separated?
That's none of your business.
How many people have you been in a relationship with since you separated from Mr. Murphy?
One.
And where did you and he stay when y'all were together?
I stayed in my home.
Did
He
stay
stayed somewhere else.
Okay. Miss Murphy, you do acknowledge that you had injuries prior to whatever happened with you and Mr. Murphy.
Not to this extent, no.
I mean, you had a splenectomy and 7 vertebrae that were damaged.
Yes, and that have been fixed through what I have done to build them up. That has nothing to do with the seizures. That has nothing to do with the neuropathy.
Now, Miss Murphy, whenever I was first retained by Mr. Murphy, did you call my office?
No, you called me.
And did we speak on the phone?
We sure did.
And did you threaten me at that time saying I was your lawyer and he was going to regret this?
No, I said you're gonna regret it because you got the one who done everything bad.
Did you actually, before that statement, ask me what he was willing to give you and then you didn't like the offer?
No, I didn't ask you that.
So you're saying you didn't threaten me after the offer was made, saying that we were going to regret?
No, you said I have some papers to hand you, and I was like, no. You said, how can I reach you? I got some papers to give to you.
Did you
You
also?
said I have been retained by Mr. Murphy to represent him in law, to represent him in this divorce.
Okay.
And you said, I said, and you were supposed to be my lawyer. I said, how weird is that he goes and gets my lawyer and Bershaw was supposed to have been his?
Did you also call the DA's office and make similar statements to Miss Shelton
About what?
about how you were mad that he hired me and that he got your lawyer and he was going to regret it?
No, I did not.
So you're
I said
denying.
that you were going to regret because I've known you my whole life. He does not know you. You were supposed to have been my lawyer. He knew that. He knew I was coming for you. But that's not my problem. You picked him. He picked you. That's what y'all to deal with. That's not a threat.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee?
No further questions.
All right.
I have one other witness, Your Honor, a brief one.
Is your witness there or in the waiting room?
She's here.
Okay. Let me ask a question before we move to the next witness. I believe there was testimony that Mr. Murphy was going to pay Mrs. Murphy $8,000 as part of the settlement in cash. Is that correct?
Well, it's $8,500, Your Honor, as soon as she moves out of the marital home.
what does that money represent? What is it for?
There was $3,500 that Miss Murphy put down towards the down payment to that trailer. And then she requested another $5,000 as her share from the house, and we agreed to that number.
So that represents community equity in the home then?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Also, there was testimony that Mrs. Murphy is receiving 1/2 of the amount of retirement benefits accrued during the marriage. Is that also correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Do you have a value on that, what that will be?
We do not, Your Honor. They'll have to do a quadro and assess what the amount was during that time. But we know currently there's $38,000 in that account, but he's worked before they were married. So I don't know exactly what that number will be, but whatever she's entitled to, she'll receive through a quadro.
How long has he been employed at that? Where does he work?
Graphic Packaging International.
I need you to say that again. Do what?
Graphic Packaging International.
Where is that located?
It's a paper mill in Domino.
How long have you worked there?
Almost 9 years.
How long?
Almost 9 years.
Okay, and the total accumulated so far is how much? 36,000?
38,000 as of
38,000.
Your Honor.
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Lee, you may call your next witness. You raise your hand and be sworn as a witness, please. And do you swear or affirm your testimony to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may lower your hand. You may proceed, Mr. Lee.
Could you state your name, please? Say it loud so they can hear it.
Kathy Easley.
And how are you related to Miss Easley?
She's my daughter.
Miss Murphy.
She's my daughter.
And there's been some talk about an accident in the early 2000s. Do you recall when that was roughly?
That was 2000. That's when Katie was born, right?
Katie was 0.
2004.
It's been many years ago. Is that
Yes.
correct? Did she have a tough time then for a few years?
Yes.
Has her injuries seemed to recover since then?
Yes.
Any issues to your knowledge? Any observed
Mm-mm.
issues? She's able to do whatever it
She
was she
was.
wanted to do.
Yes.
And there's no disability, nothing like that resulting from that wreck. And obviously, how often are you around your daughter?
Just about every day.
Do you have to drive, you or your husband have to drive her everywhere she needs to go?
Yes, sir.
And how long have y'all been doing that?
Since May.
And if you are not available, she either finds someplace else or someone else, or she can't go.
Right.
And have you observed this passing out or seizures that she's had?
No, she calls me when she wakes up and says, I was on the floor.
And was she healthy, completely functional before May of last year?
Yes.
And since May of last year, what have you observed, what you've actually seen?
She's very weak. She hurts. She's in a lot of pain. She has to walk with a cane most of the time.
And that has progressed. It wasn't immediate,
Mm-mm.
but it was over the months that have passed. Has it progressed?
Yes.
Has she
Yes, sir.
apparently gotten worse from what you observed?
Yes.
Do you feel like that from what you observed, at least right now, she's unable to work?
Right.
And she
Yes,
was
sir.
able to work before May.
Yes, sir.
And does she appear to be getting worse to you?
She does.
It seems progressive.
Yes, sir.
She is able to go to ball games and school functions
Yes, sir.
and hometown Christmas.
Yes, sir.
Have you observed issues that she has when she does go to those things?
She's real weak. She usually has to carry the cane or she has to sit.
Does she stay on the outskirts of,
Yes.
if she goes to the track meet, does she go up on the bleachers or does she?
No, she usually goes to watch, then goes and sits down at the car
And sees it at a,
distance. Yes.
a long distance. You've heard her testimony today based upon your knowledge and what you observe. Is that true and correct?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
No questions.
All right, call your next witness.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Any
We
rebuttal,
have,
Mr.
I say that, and I don't think it's going to happen. Is there a Dr. Hooten in the waiting room? We received message that if she was able, that she would be here, but that she didn't know. So if she's not in the waiting room, that's all I have.
Let me check and make sure, but I don't believe so. I'll make sure. At this time, there's no one in the waiting room.
She did say it kind of depended on the patient load, and she didn't want to cancel patients this late, with this short a notice. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Albertson, rebuttal.
No, Your Honor, I would just like to briefly close on the one contested issue.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, under the Texas Family Code, section 8.051, eligibility for maintenance, there are certain requirements that Ms. Murphy would have to meet to be eligible for spousal maintenance. The very first one is that it says the court may order maintenance for either spouse only if the spouse seeking maintenance will lack sufficient property, including the spouse's separate property on dissolution of the marriage, to provide for the spouse's minimal reasonable needs. Your Honor, she's given a budget to the court today that is less than the money she's saying she's receiving just in unemployment. I believe to be eligible for unemployment, you have to at least allege that you're able to work. And so she's receiving that money at $1,000 and something, 1,014, I believe, if I'm off a little bit. I know it was over $1,000 every 2 weeks. Her budget she put forward to the court was only around $1,000 a month and included bills for her kids' insurance, not her insurance, because she can't drive. So even including bills that don't even pertain to her, she still gets enough money per month to pay her reasonable basic needs. On top of that, she's receiving $8,500 from us and 1/2 of the retirement account going forward. So she's not presented a budget or any set of financials to prove that she actually needs anything from us other than what she's receiving today and already receiving from unemployment. And then if she does somehow down the road get disability, she'll be receiving even more money from the government to be able to pay her reasonable needs at that time. So she'll be receiving even more money. So we don't believe she meets it there. Secondly, it says after the court was shown that, she has to prove one of the following. One is that my client has either been convicted of or received deferred adjudication for a criminal offense that constitutes an act of family violence committed during the marriage against the other spouse or the spouse's child, and the offense occurred within 2 years before the date on which a suit of dissolution of marriage is filed or while the suit is pending. While there are charges pending, he's not been convicted or received any probation, and they've acknowledged that. So she can't meet number one. Number two option says the spouse seeking maintenance is unable to earn sufficient income to provide for the spouse's minimal reasonable needs because of an incapacitating physical or mental disability. She doesn't have any actually diagnosed disabilities, Your Honor. She doesn't receive anything from the government. She's going through the process to try to get it. But as all of us know, that could be years down the road before that gets done. So she's not provided anything to the court showing any actual diagnosed disability. Her only testimony was she believes she's disabled and then talked about some injuries she believes are associated with this pending criminal charge. The second one under 2 says that she would have had to have been married for more than 10 years or longer. Obviously, that's not true, so she can't meet that. And the third option is the custodian of the child of the marriage. There were no children of the marriage, so she can't meet that. So we don't believe she meets any statutory grounds to actually be awarded spousal maintenance. And even if she did meet some grounds, we believe that her financials far exceed the budget she provided to the court. So she hasn't shown any non-ability to meet her reasonable basic needs to this court. So we would ask the court to deny her request for spousal maintenance and just approve the agreement and grant the divorce and the name change, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
I have a couple of issues. Obviously, if there's 38,000 and that's for 9 years work, they were married 3 years. So she's not going to get much out of that retirement at all. And the 8,500 is reimbursement and all that will help her get set up in a new house. We have proved that she received injuries from that date. It is progressively getting worse. It will take years for her to get, potentially years for her to get Social Security disability, but she's clearly disabled. And as a result of him attacking her, as far as waiting, I don't think the code anticipates somebody waiting to get a divorce for until the conviction takes place. It's perfectly logical that a divorce would happen after a major assault. And if those injuries are a result of that, that's what the statute was set up for, is to protect those that are injured. He caused the injuries. It's pretty much uncontested that he caused them. He apparently is saying self-defense, but there's no evidence as to why that would be self-defense. That's his version. Our version is he attacked her repeatedly. And it's clear she had the injuries. It's clear she's not going to be able to work. As far as the unemployment, she's been getting that for quite some time, but that's going to expire here very shortly. And so she will have zero income at that point, and will not be able to get income because of what he did to her. And so we feel like she is entitled to spousal support under the statute. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll take it under advisement. I want to take a look at the statute and probably some of the case law that governs the statute or that interprets it. And I'll let y'all know my decision as soon as I can get to it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Court's adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.